Hello everyone. Very sorry for those issues there. OBS is very dumb, as I'm sure you all are quite aware from probably your own streaming endeavors. It does not like RTMP streams, which is what we use, but we got it working now. Pardon us if the cropping looks a bit weirdly, had to stretch the game a little bit to get it to fit here. I will try and do some tweaking behind the scenes. But yeah, so I guess we should probably just get started. I'll give a very quick introduction here, just so if anyone's not familiar with Spyrothon already. We are a community marathon for the Spyro community. We hold usually biannual events, usually one in June here with our showcase series, and then usually a main event somewhere in the late summer or the early fall. And we just showcase the Spyro series. Pretty straightforward. So, if you're new here, come on, drop us a follow. And if you're not new here, then you're ready for the memes and the fun. So, our first run, we got DylanJayFox here. He's going to do Spyro 2 for us. I guess we can just lead right into this to kind of make up some time.
Right.
So.
What's going on, everybody? It's Dylan here. Today we're going to be doing 14 Talisman for you. I love this category. I love this game. It's really sick, and I only recently got into it, but I'm going to show you exactly the right route if you're trying to get into it yourself, how you can do that, and hopefully probably do better than I did with it. So, whenever you're ready, Phoenix, we can go ahead and get started.
Yep, you can count me down, I'm good.
Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Thank you for the luck, gamers. I appreciate it. So, one of the things Phoenix recommended for me is just because this is one of the first runs in the marathon, we keep it kind of beginner friendly. Which, if anybody has watched my 14 tally runs, I do a very beginner friendly route, meaning that I buy a swim. So the first thing you're gonna notice here in my Glimmer compared to some other people's is I'm going to be doing quite a bit of gem collection. So I'm going to be scooping up some of these gems pretty early on and heading straight on over to the end of level JK Lamau, grabbing some extra gems because we need 500 to buy swim, and we want to do that by the time we're out of Colossus. So we do need to kind of scrounge up quite a few gems here. So, as you guys see, I'm going to exit this level with just about 100 and something gems. I believe it's like 103 or something. And we get the Talisman and head on out, which of course leads me into talking about the naming of this category in particular, which is 14 Talisman. You see, with every single homeworld, or with every single world in the first two homeworlds rather, of Summer Forest and Autumn Plains, there's a talisman at the end of each level. The old any percent for Spyro actually used to be essentially what 14 Talisman is now. And fun fact, in Reignited, it's essentially the exact same. I just stopped sprinting. That's why I talked to Alora, if you were wondering. Some of this movement may look a little bit questionable because we had to call a bit of a last-minute audible, and I have to play on emulator, which I have not done in probably 6 months or 7 months, so I'm not really as used to the input delay as I once was. But yeah, back to the 14 tally thing. You basically want to get all 14 of them, and then you can skip into Ripto using a swim and arrow, which I'm going to show you much later on the route. But just to preface you and get you an idea of what you can expect to see. In this level, there's a big trick known as Beetle Proxy, which I'm not doing. Once again, the beginning of this game is pretty much me just scrounging gems just so we get to 500. That way I can buy swim. As it's kind of just the easier route to start out on. There's a trick later in the run called Swim into Theater, Spurter into Theater, where you can then get Swim, which does make the category a bit faster, and there are several different proxies you can do to, make your time a bit faster. However, I personally went with the swim route, partly because I was scared of doing Spurter into Theater, but also partly because I think just challenging myself via the movement is a really fun way to tackle this game, and specifically 14 Talisman. Speaking of Talismans, onto the second Talisman. We're just kind of running through the level, like I said, grabbing gems. There's nothing really particularly special going on. I'm going to be utilizing some mechanics like you just saw, the flame charge and the double jump, which I've been doing the whole time, but to explain in a bit better of detail, a flame charge is basically pressing the jump input and then quickly pressing charge, which tricks the game into believing that Spyro is doing a bit of a second jump animation, so you can gain extra height and kind of exploit that to get in different areas of the game quicker. Of course, that's our entire goal. So So next up, we're going to be heading on over to Colossus. Before that, we're going to scoop up some of these very good gems. I'm going to be very, like, I'm just going to grab basically every extra gem I can just to show you all the gems you can get. Ideally, the best gem count I've been to while getting into Colossus was, I think, 327. Um, which obviously means you can just kind of drop more gems later. Um, but again, all you need to get to is 500, regardless of how you get there. You just want to get to 500 before you head on into the next section of the game. I forgot to do the out of bounds. So there's a little out of bounds I could have shown you there, where you can actually jump over this this giant mouth at the beginning of the level. I completely forgot about it. just riding through it. Just didn't even think. I typically don't go for it just because I'm not confident at it at all. But for a marathon setting, I'd like to showcase what I can. But unfortunately, I just forgot. But as you can see, we're just utilizing that double jump mechanic to kind of get through the game and through the level as quickly as possible. Head on over to the end of level here with Brother Ned, where he's going to pass us our third talisman. So Summer Forest has 6 talismans, and Autumn Plains, our second homeworld, has 8. Meaning that we do just under half the game here in the first hub. Which, you know, it's kind of weird to think that the first hub of the game is basically half, and then the third is none of it, practically, essentially. It's the pacing for 14 Tally is very strange because you don't technically have to do any tricks until at the very end. Also, I apologize if you guys can hear my puppy. I just got new puppies the other day, and I think I hear him whining in the next room. So just quick apology for that if that ever pops up during the run. And we're gonna head on over here to Moneybags and pick up Swim, like I said.
Hello there.
And we're gonna go ahead and continue on through. So what doing this allows us to do is it allows us to bypass several of the required proxies here in the early game, which there are 2 specifically. Namely, you need it for Sunny Beach and you need it for Aquaria Towers. Thankfully, we don't have to do that. However, I'm going to show you guys one of the first out of bounds in the game. I know we did one in Glimmer, but we haven't really done one since because I kind of went a little bit baby mode on those first couple levels. But we're going to scoop up these 20 gems and run on over here and try to do this clip on emulator. Cool. And you clip out of bounds, you do like a little bit of a double jumpy action, and then you hop on into the talisman room. Nice and quick.
Thank you, Spot.
It actually went a lot better than I thought it did. So one interesting thing to note about Spyro 2, and I'm probably not the best authority to talk on this, is as you can see, I didn't open my menu and leave the level that time. There are certain portals where it's just faster to actually run to the portal rather than open up the pause menu because of how long it takes in this game. So you'll see me do that on some portals in this game. Not all of them, of course, but some of them I, of course, will be doing that. And we're on to Sunny Beach. So here there's the turtle proxy, which I can do. I am not going to attempt it just because I need the gems for my route, but up here you get like a lot of very, very good gems. Like that's about 30 I wouldn't have gone otherwise. I think it was more than 30, but I'm going to say 30 to be conservative. And then there's like another 25 right here that you scoop up. So a lot of good gems kind of just scattered through Sunny Beach here. I was about to say Sunny Villa. Ooh, that was a really bad double jump. Like I said, my input timings are a bit off because of the emulator. Not to blame it, but you know how it is when you switch from one to another. It just kind of it can mess with your muscle memory quite a little bit. So here I'm going to take the baby route of flaming the turtle up this hill because I'm not confident I can do this on input delay right now. But basically you can stay on the button and actually clip through this door by stepping off of it at a kind of slow speed and then sprinting at the right time, which is really nice. It saves, I think, somewhere in the range of like 6 or 7 seconds. But again, I don't want to be doing it for like 3 minutes here and waste everybody's time. Honestly, so far, not a bad early game. I haven't really missed anything in particular. I think I've just had some sloppy movement. So, overall, not too bad. Like I said, this is the beginner route, so like a lot of what I'm doing here is just collecting gems. I don't know why I flamed that. In case you're wondering, no, you're not supposed to flame that. Please hit the 10 gem. So like really all you're doing is kind of collecting gems and like trying to utilize good movement while executing on a few small tricks. Versus like the full-blown 14 Talisman, which if you watch like, let's just say you watch Record with blunt bows, he's going for every proxy, he's hitting everything. Whereas this route, you intentionally don't go for those because they just, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I like getting runs out. And typically for me, when I was trying to do that route, I was just struggling a lot with just getting out of the first homeworld. So here in the Quarry Towers, it's pretty much just an almost all one underwater level. Like we do like little surface areas here, but then we hit the buttons.
Nice.
Which for a Spyro level is pretty unique. I forgot that I can skip that cutscene. If you press start on that cutscene, it actually lets you skip it. I was pressing the wrong one. I was pressing triangle and X because I'm not the smartest. But just like that, we have our 6 Talisman, and that's Hub 1 basically complete. And now all we have to do is complete the boss fight with my boy Crush. So, to talk about the gems real quick, the reason why I'm collecting them beyond, of course, getting Swim, which we, of course, have done by now, is there are 2 levels which we need to unlock, which we can't get into otherwise via paying Moneybags gems. They are Zephyr and
Before you get to the castle dungeon.
Shady Oasis. I always get Shady Oasis and Scorch confused, that's why it took me a second. I always like just forget the name. They're both desert themed. I do the same thing with like any Spyro 3 level. That's the icy ones like Icy Peak and Frozen Altars. I interchange those names so much. Alright, so here the strat for Gulp is to jump over these like little blue attacks. Not like I just did. I just fully pre-jumped him. I don't know what I was doing there. And then just kind of let him hit himself. Alright, so I don't know how I'm gonna like save this right now, but alright. With a well-timed double jump, you can jump over those. It's a little bit challenging at first, but as long as you know the timing decently well, it's not too bad. So now what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to keep him on this blue pad. Reason being is it makes it a lot easier for him to do the whole hate yourself. And it saves time because he just keeps going back to the same one if you manage to pull him off the pad here. And just like that, the first boss of Spyro 2 is done. And now we're heading on into essentially the meat and potatoes of the run. There's a lot of tricks in Hub 2 compared to Hub 1 when you're doing this route. So Hub 1 is nice and easy to kind of breeze through without too much trouble. Like don't get me wrong, the Hurrico's clip in particular can be a bit finicky at times. You know, there's like subtle movement things that you can mess up and stuff. But I would say that once you get into Hub 2 here, it starts to ramp up difficulty a little bit. With the first level being Crystal Glacier, at least with the strats I do. Because you can theoretically do easier strats, but I like doing at least some combination of harder strats. So the first one I'm going to do here is I'm going to do Boneless. At least that's what I've come to call it. I don't know what it's actually called. I suck. My inputs, they're really... Alright, I'm going to do it on the bone now. Essentially what we were trying to do is we were trying to cross this gorge without having to free these guys as well as not have to go on the bone. Which, just going on the bone makes it considerably easier, but... I think with the input delay and my inconsistency with... That almost worked. this like, there we go. Sorry, I was focused on that. So that's what's called a Sproder. I know I didn't talk about it too much because I said we don't do it in my route. But that is the one Sproder I do in my run, and it's very small and very simple compared to the other ones. I wasn't very confident I would hit it just because, again, of the input delay, but thankfully we managed to hit it and showcase it a bit. Compared to freeing all the guys, that saves quite a considerable amount of time, somewhere in the range of, I would say, like 10 to 15 seconds, so nothing to sneeze at. Definitely something you want to do if you have the ability to do. So, just like that, Crystal Glacier's done. We also clipped into the roof. I didn't even talk about that. I was just so focused on talking about the Sproder. But basically, the top of that area where I jumped in is just completely intangible. You can just go straight through it. And the scenery outside you can actually land on, so you can land on that and then jump into the end of level area, which makes it nice and easy to, you know, do that whole clip. Alright, Skelos. Probably the most difficult level in all of Spyro speedrunning. 14 Talisman, Skelos Badlands. You can put on the record that I said that because, you know, there's just not a level more difficult than this. You know, they put the end of level significantly far away from Spyro, so it's really hard to do it fast. There's definitely not a way where you can just double jump around and hop on over to Glug and he gives you the talisman. Like, there's not a way where that happens, which makes it just a significantly harder level than it has any right to be, you know? Also, the portal just doesn't let you go into it sometimes. It's definitely not because you miss the portal, but yeah. Right. So one thing that's interesting to note about Spyro 2 is you actually might have saw the like ally or friendly NPCs in that level and Crystal Glacier kind of are the same. Spyro 2 has what are called sister levels, where one level is a essential sister to the other. Breeze Harbor and Zephyr are two of them as well, which you'll see more when we actually get to Zephyr, which I do at the end of my route. Not quite as confident. I'm gonna struggle with this a bit because of the... There we go. So, unfortunately for Tooper, I'm not doing massless as I don't find it free, especially not with input delay right now.
Thanks for getting.
But as you can see, we kind of utilize the scenery and the ship itself to kind of hop up onto this little end portion, and kind of get out of the level nice and quick. It also helps that you can actually clip and kind of get yourself through like that little wing on the ship. It's easier if you do a double jump, but I've learned to do it with just a charging jump. It's not particularly difficult either. But speaking of things that aren't particularly difficult, but can be particularly difficult, we're going to do Climbless here. Which I personally have gotten to the point where I'm probably pretty confident at it. However, doing an input delay is like, it's a different beast. That jump in particular, I've only recently started doing as like a walking double jump, which is slightly different to a normal double jump. I'll talk about that a little bit more when I get to Zephyr. All right, you heard John Spyrothon. So next up, we're in Scorch, which, just like all the other levels, just a level where we're gonna be scooping up some gems, and that's basically it. Let's get all those, and hop on over the wall, bonk on that wall, I guess, and head on over to Greta. So I'm not gonna lie to you, the one thing I will say about this route is there isn't exactly a ton to talk about without the tricks in particular. Most notably, like it is just purely just trying to be fast with your movement, and it is just trying to be efficient with like the few tricks you do. Funny. And yeah, so in particular, Fracture Hills without doing Satyr List is essentially just freeing all the satyrs and going to the end of level. Again, while scooping up some gems, like some optimal gems. But that's a lot of what it is. And it's very beginner friendly, very user friendly, and I find it fun. Because you can, of course, start including tricks whenever you see fit. But that is completely up to you, and that's fully discretionary. So, like, if you don't feel confident doing sheep proxy or turtle proxy or fill in the blank here, you can, of course, omit that in favor of a more lenient or easy trick, which I personally find to be really nice about this category. And then you can, of course, whenever you do want to start executing on some of that time save that you have with that trick and you're confident in everything else, you can then continue to add things to it. It's very much like Vortex in that sense, if anybody here has seen a Vortex run. As for like that category, you can kind of mix and match your strats, and you can even select your homeworld order so you can do things in whatever order you specifically choose, which is nice.
Now that you...
Okay, that was a little bit scuffed, man. I know it's a bad excuse, but I'm gonna keep blaming the input delay for my double jumps being a little bit gimped right now. Yeah, that's another talisman in the books. And next up, we're gonna be heading to Magma Cone. Really quickly, I do just want to make mention for anybody who's watching the stream right now, if there's a Spyro game you're interested in running, I would strongly suggest checking out the schedule and seeing what we have to offer in that, because there are a lot of awesome games being showcased today in the 8% showcase, with Spyro 2 just being the opener here. So you'll see plenty more than what I'm offering here today, and hopefully you find a game that you can fall in love with speedrunning if you haven't already. Alright, so Magma Cone is a level very defined by good double jump movement and not falling in this hole at the beginning. So you need to take out these two enemies because they give you souls, right? And by getting these souls, you can activate a power-up later on. This is true for all Spyro 2 levels, but this is the only one in 14 Talisman where it really matters, because we use it to get to the end of level area. So here we're going to hop on over. So this Superfly power-up is usually used to do the Party Crashers minigame. However, we're going to use it with like a little bit of a mix of a double jump to hop on top of this volcano and have our end of level conversation with Bippo the Fawn, I think it was. Again, really quick level, just defined by some nice, clean, quick movement. And then we head on out. We got a fawn party. Okay. And right around now, 630 gems is about where I want to be. I think you can be roughly as low as 610 and still somewhat comfortably be able to buy the last level at the end here. But here we're going to be buying Shady Oasis,
I can let...
which very commonly, I would say among Spyro players, is probably one of the least favorite levels. Unfortunately, I think it's an interesting level in terms of pure design, but I understand the mini games not being the most fun for everybody. I was thinking of Scorch, but also I would say the same probably applies for Shady. So once again, our goal is just to get to 400 gems now. Where, of course, this actually in particular, to talk about it, this is the first time Spyro has an escort mission, to my knowledge. Which in Spyro 3, they become kind of common ground, especially with the side characters. But Spyro having an escort mission throughout the whole level, this is the first time I believe it's been done. Unless something's just escaping me. Which very well it might be. But most commonly, Shorty is the subject of many a meme, due to their slowness, specifically in SRT. But as long as you keep ahead of them, in original Spyro 2 here, they tend to just, you know, they run for it. They go for it for you. Did I say Sunny Beach? Oh no, Sunny Beach does have an escort. You're right. You're right. You're right. But you don't actually escort the turtles in Fortune Valley, which is why I probably didn't think of it. So here we're going to be at 389. There's also an extra 15 gems outside of the level, which we can scoop up. Which are, you know, they're there. It's always good to have the extras. So yeah, we're going to get to 400, and then we're going to utilize something that I think, it's not exclusive to this route, but I don't see it as commonly because people typically don't use the teleport function. But fun fact, if you talk to Alora while you're running through the game and you're missing a talisman, first of all, she'll tell you, oh no, Gulp Store isn't open, but then if you talk to her again, she'll teleport you to the nearest portal.
Would you like
In this case, Zephyr, because it's the only portal that we don't have the talisman for. I think for the strat I'm going to do in this level, just because I'm not as confident in my walking double jump, at least on the second one, I'm not going to do the walking double jump. I'm going to do a baby strat I learned from Derek J. Lander, where instead of going over to the right, we're actually just going to glide on over here, and then we're going to take the whirlwind up. And then I know I said I don't do many, if any, proxies in my run, but here in Zephyr, I'm going to do at least one. Just kind of show you what it looks like. And I hit it. I'm really happy I hit that. I haven't done that on emulator in such a long time. But as you can see, it just takes you straight to the end of the level. You can scoop on over. You don't even have to blow Corporal Glug up. Although his dialogue will tell you that you did. And just like that, Hub 2 is done. We're in the end game now, Avengers. As they like to say. And as we head into the end game, we have to combat one of the worst bosses in platformer history, or most difficult bosses in platform history. I think he's a very interesting boss, Gulp, but doing him in a speed run, gotta say, not the most fun, not the most enjoyable. All right. So here our goal is to get as many hits on each phase as possible. Specifically on the first, we're gonna try to hit him twice with the barrels. Wow. I could have got that as a double, but I hit that way too far to the right. That was actually a very good double opportunity, but I just fully threw it out. You can't actually get a double on the bombs here, but I always like flaming the second just in case I, whiff the first shot. But here we get rockets. Our three items that we can actually utilize in this fight are, of course, bombs, barrels, and rockets. With rockets commonly being known as the free double when you get to their phase, because you get two of them at the same time. Actually, I just remember, I'm gonna try to hit a Gulp proxy, the funny proxy at the top. So from here on out, it sends us a complete mix of all three items. However, most commonly for Spyro 2 speedrunners, I don't know if it's actually most commonly, but it feels like it sometimes, right? We get triple bombed, but if you wait like a little bit longer, you can of course wait for more eggs, and hopefully you get a rocket or a barrel. You can execute a double at minimum with a rocket or a barrel. And a bomb, or any combination of those other two, but you need at least one of those you need either a rocket or a barrel to do a double, at minimum, at least one. Alright, and I gotta say, for my standards, my standards, that was a pretty good gold fight. I was also trying to skip a cutscene if you were wondering why I paused. Which I just tend to do. Alright. So now we're officially in the last homeworld, which unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you feel about it, we don't really get to see for too long. For the flavor, I'm gonna go for Penguin. Even though I don't really feel particularly confident I'll hit it here. But I figure it can't hurt, right? I'm a gamer. I missed the portal! Oh no. Oh, that is, without a doubt, probably the most DylanJayFox thing I could have done. Holy, oh, that's amazing. That is, so to give you context, Penguin isn't like absurdly hard, but I have never hit it in a run. I practiced it for a while, and then I stopped playing 14 Tally for a time. And I've of course not really done it on emulator, right? So you would expect that I would just miss it. But unfortunately, instead of missing that, I actually just missed the portal entry. What? Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Alright, so here we're gonna be doing the wall. This is I was gonna say, somewhat of a precise double jump, but we got a first try. Oh, that is so funny. And all we're looking to do is get Fireball. Which, as you can see, by getting over that wall, you can go out of bounds. Do not, in any circumstance, try to swim under the water while you're there, because it will crash your game immediately, unless you are Sparksless. Yeah, our goal is just to do like a little double jump out of bounds while over the water to get to Fireball, which isn't too bad. And now we have Fireball for the Ripto fight. So, here the last real step to get into Ripto is we want to utilize a trick called Swim in Air, which I did perfectly, if you're wondering. I went a little bit high there. So, the goal with Swim in Air is to kind of clip the water as you're falling down and charge into it. By doing this, it lets Spyro kind of I went too low. Okay. I will say that it's not really the input delay. I'm not going to blame that here. But I am just very not practiced in this trick at the moment. Just again, because I wasn't running it quite as frequently. But I'm hoping I can get it here third try for you guys. Let's go. Alright, and just like that, we're heading on into Ripto. It looks like I'm going to be just barely overestimate, which I'm going to blame on the fact that emulator loads smile. Can we blame emulator loads? Am I legally allowed to do that? And yeah, just like that, we're on to our final boss in Ripto. It's a lot of clipping out of bounds here at the end, a lot of, you know, doing a bunch of like little things, but
Spyro,
it all adds up to making this end game pretty challenging in my opinion. Of course, it is more challenging depending on what trick you do at the end. There's another trick called Sproder to Ripto, which I can't even begin to explain to you. It's a very long Sproder, but for this gold fight, we basically just fireball him just a ton, because that's all we have. I didn't get early fireball off on the third phase, but that's fine. And here on the third, he has 3 different like ways that he moves. He either moves kind of like left to right like he is right now, or he just kind of flies around like he did for the first 2 hits. And then after the 4th or the 6th hit, you'll see he starts kind of like flying around the arena a little bit more off of whatever he wants to be doing. And time. Let's go. All right. So that was Spyro 214 Talisman. I know I didn't talk about the run a lot, or as much as maybe I should have, but things go by so fast that it's hard to kind of talk about them as they're going. But hopefully you understood, and hopefully you enjoyed the run. Again, check out ! schedule. We have tons of sick runs coming up for you guys, just throughout the entire Spyro series, and I know you're gonna love the event. They always do a great job here at Spyrothon. Faulty, Phoenix, Cooper, they do stellar jobs, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you very much, Dylan. So we are going to head over to our big screen now. We're going to do this very quickly to try and make up some time here. So up next, actually let me get this onto the big screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see, up next we have Spyro Enter the Dragonfly with Joe M8. That will be any %, no early Ripto, with dupes. I am very excited to see what he has to offer for that, because I've been told there's been a lot of changes in this category recently, so should be interesting. So we will be right back as quick as possible so we can make up some time here.